Okay, are we live? We are live. Okay, I think I'm figuring out the setup for this a little bit better. So today is June 23rd, right? It's June 23rd. Yeah. And yesterday I had a super busy day. Oh my goodness. I got up fairly early, about 5:30, and I was working. Had to go to work at 9. So before I went to work, this is one of the products that I'm showcasing, by the way. As you can see, I use this a lot. Also this, the retinol cream, I use that a lot. I definitely recommend buying it. Anyway, as I was saying, I had a lot to do, so I made sure to get up early and get my chores done and stuff, get the dishes going, get the laundry going, clean up the house, and talk to my son over in Germany. And then I did a full workout. By the time I was done with my workout, my arms were like literally shaking. I was so tired. And then I came and did a live video, and then I went to work at my first job. I was there about 6 hours. It was a weekend, so my husband was home with the kids. And while I was at work, I did a lot of heavy lifting too, because we've been I've been helping them redo their house. So after that, I decided I better do my lawn mowing for the week because it was only like 60 degrees. My husband was going to take the kids fishing yesterday, but that didn't end up working out because we had gale force winds. Gale force winds on Lake Superior are insane. So yeah, fishing just was not an option. So anyway, while I was at work, I realized that I was going to have to do the lawn mowing too, because if I waited till Monday, today, like I usually do, the weather was not going to work because it's been raining all day and it's hot and muggy and rainy. So I was not able to. Hi, thanks for joining. Anyway, so I decided to do my lawn mowing jobs all at once yesterday after I got off of work as a caregiver in my caregiving position. You guys, I should not mow 3 lawns at once, but I did. I took a couple of breaks, but not really enough. By the time I was done, I was like panting and overheated, and oh my goodness, I thought I was gonna pass out. So after I got that done, I went and just soaked in the bathtub for like an hour because I couldn't really function. And then then my other job, I work at a pizza place where I'm just a fill-in, where I only work if somebody needs to call me in. I'm not really scheduled for regular days there. Well, she called me and she's like, hey, I really need you. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So, I went down there and I was working for 2 hours, and then one of my kids called. So my husband was home with the kids, but one of the kids called and was like, Mom, you have to come home right now. And I was like, oh, what happened? So my twins, they're 6 years old, they got a hold of my weights, and Ellie dropped an 8-pound weight on Theo's foot. He's okay, thank God, but we thought his foot was broken, so immediately, I told my boss, I was like, hey, I gotta go. And she's like, yeah, I get it. And took him to the ER and got x-rays and stuff, and he was okay, thank God. And as it turns out, the nurse that was there was the same nurse that a year ago had taken care of my son that passed away. It was really nice seeing her. She was a really kind, very kind nurse. She asked about us and how the kids were doing and everything. And But I was like, I didn't get home till like after midnight. I was so exhausted. But Theo's doing well. He's supposed to stay off his feet for a couple of days, which is driving him nuts because, you know, 6-year-olds, they want to run around and play, and he's not really too keen on having to sit. But he's got his laptop, so that'll be fine. Anyway, after that I finally got to bed, and I actually dreamed about my son Tilk, the one that passed away last year. In my dream, I was like at Disneyland. I've never been to Disneyland, but in my dream I was at Disneyland, and he was there, and I just ran up to him and hugged him and kissed his little face, and he was laughing and smiling, and it was a really good dream because I really felt like I got to see him. What's interesting is my husband also dreamed about him last night, but he had a nightmare. He woke up almost screaming. I haven't had nightmares about my son. It's always been good dreams where I get to visit with him, and I really feel like that's him telling me he's okay. You know, unfortunately, my husband just kind of checked out and did not help me take care of our son towards the end. And I don't know, that's probably why he's having nightmares over it. Hi everybody. I just seen that more people joined. Great to see you. Anyway, so yeah, yesterday was just insane. Today I slept in a little bit. Well, not totally, because I was up at like 4 a.m. because the storm woke me up. The storm was intense. It was like strobe light. The lightning was like so bad. And with the lightning so intense, fortunately the kids didn't wake up. There wasn't a lot of thunder, but it woke me up, and it was like 4-ish, 4:30-ish. I don't remember exactly. But I text my boy over in Germany to see how he was doing, and he happened to have a few minutes, so he called and we talked for a few minutes. The legal department from the Army, so he's trying to get out of the Army because of the accident that happened to him. He's got really bad PTSD, so he's been in the process of getting out, and they did get back to him. So basically there's been several rounds of like, he gets a checklist of things he has to do, and then it all goes back to legal, which is basically like it goes back to DC, and then they send him another checklist of things that he has to do. So they sent back that he had to do one more thing, and then his command signed off on that right away, sent that back. So we should hear from them next week. Hopefully they'll actually have a exit date, like an actual date, because he's almost through the whole process. And once he gets his last packet, his last checklist, then he should be able to like actually schedule the flight home. He said that the timeline they gave him puts it at about 4 weeks. And I'm just so glad that he'll be coming home soon. So I talked to him, and then I spent like an hour deep cleaning my kitchen. One of the problems about being a working mom is I can't necessarily do all the housekeeping that I need to do every single day. And the kitchen just didn't get done yesterday. So I got it done today. And I'm not working out today. I am so sore from working out, mowing lawns, working at the pizza place. I was like, we were so busy at the pizza place last night that like I didn't even have a chance to catch my breath. I was just like sweating, running around, getting everything that needed to be done. And then like I was supposed to be there another like half an hour when I had to rush home to take to take Theo to the hospital. But like I said, he's okay. His foot is just a little sore. Like, the kids know better than to touch my weights, and I was like so annoyed that my husband, who was supposed to be watching them, wasn't actually watching them. He was in his office playing video games, because of course he was. But he's fine now. Everything's fine now. I feel like I'm speed running my makeup right now. Hi everybody. I kind of enjoy this, doing these lives. I wasn't sure about it, because I'd never done it before. This is only the third live I've done. This setting spray, you guys, I use it every day. It's in my shop thing, and I actually had this before I knew that I could promote it. Makes my makeup last all day. My makeup was still intact yesterday after mowing 3 lawns. My face was red and I was sweaty, but my eyeshadow stayed put. So, yeah. And this is my go-to mascara. I have short little bitty eyelashes, like naturally, and I have hooded eyes, so sometimes I will wear false eyelashes, but the thing that I have a hard time with is I always have to cut them, because otherwise they like rub up against my eyes, my eyelids, and it gets irritating. Oh, my 18-year-old just texted me about what to make for dinner. He loves to cook, and we have a whole bunch of tomatoes that are about to go bad, so I was like, what should we make with tomatoes? And so he's texting me a bunch of recipes. I guess we're gonna make stew tonight, either that or pasta sauce. I've made pasta sauce like lots of times. But yeah, let's see. What should we talk about? I already talked about my day yesterday and today. It's about 10:30 right here where I am. The weather is crappy out. It looks like it's gonna rain again. Let's see, maybe I could talk about, like, one thing that was in the comments yesterday was about religion, and I just want to, like, maybe explain why I left organized religion. I used to, funny enough, I have a Bible degree, and I went to school to be a pastor or a missionary, and I was involved in ministry for a long time. But when my son Tilk was born, he was disabled, and the church I was going to didn't want me to bring him to church. First they said, I brought him up for prayer, and they was like, that's too much. And I was like, what do you mean that's too much? Like, you're supposed to have faith, right? And then they told me over the years, like, oh, go stay out in the hallway with him because he's too loud. He wasn't even that loud. He just, like, when the music would play, he would go, ah. And they're like, oh, his feeding tube freaks us out, so don't bring him to church. And, like, they did this for years, and finally, like, I got really sick of sitting out in the hallway, and I left that church, and I went to a different church. And the other church I went to was fine for a while, but see, my oldest is autistic, and I had never really, like, talked about it very much, but then when I started getting closer to the pastor and his family, I mentioned it one time, and so then he started making sermons about it not existing, and I was like, what? So I left that church. So yeah, the girl that used to be studying to be a pastor, and now instead I'm doing makeup on YouTube, so that's like a whole thing. But yeah, something came up about yesterday being Sunday, or something in the comments yesterday. I can't remember exactly what that was. So funny enough, I used to be in a cult. Yeah, really. You know the Duggars? I didn't know the Duggars, but I was kind of on the fringes of their cults in like the online forums and stuff. Like I wasn't like that involved with it, but it is a funny story that I tell now because I was like, oh yeah, I was in a cult at one point. Well, not really. I wasn't really deep into it, but it is kind of funny. So I do kind of avoid churches these days because of like everything that happened. But anyway, let's see. Let's move on to another topic. What should we talk about? Maybe I should talk about the products that I've got in my showcase here. I already mentioned this one. This is my setting spray. I've been using this for years, like 4 years. And every time I run out, I always rebuy it because it's only $8 from Profusion. It keeps my makeup on all day. This is the color change or color correcting primer that I used, and it also helps my makeup stick really well. It's not even very expensive either. I've got this in my showcase too. It comes in different colors. This is the other one, and I had this before I was approved to promote anything, so you can obviously see that I use that quite a bit. Retinol cream. Put on retinol cream before you do your makeup. It gets rid of eye bags and minimizes wrinkles around your eyes. I'm almost 42 years old, but having excellent skincare, don't really see a lot of wrinkles. I do have forehead wrinkles though. I don't know how to get rid of those, so I just cover them up with my bangs. Let's see. Should we talk? I feel like I talk fast. I do everything fast, like crazy fast. I dismantled most of my kitchen, not like the cabinets and stuff, but like I took everything off the counters and cleaned everything and scrubbed the whole kitchen, worked up a sweat doing it. And I was like, man, this must have been at this for like hours. I didn't look at the clock and it's like a half an hour. I do everything crazy, crazy fast. Oh, I know what we can talk about. I am an author and illustrator. This is one of my books. This is actually about my disabled son, the one that passed away recently. I wrote this years ago when he was little. I wrote it in 2016. I have over 400 titles. I think it's 475 right now. This one I wrote about my mom. So she was making pizza, and for some reason she forgot that you can put pizza on the oven rack, and so she kept trying to cut it to fit various pans, and I thought it was hilarious. Like, she even cut it into tiny pieces and put it in a muffin pan, and so I made a storybook about it. This is one of the first ones I did with my now 19-year-old, the one that's in the Army. Actually, our whole journey into writing children's books came from a dream that he had. He had this dream about this like superhero girl with blue hair, and they went on adventures together all the time, and he told me about this dream, and I wrote it down, and I was like, this is so cute. So I illustrated it and turned it into a children's book for him. And then we started, like, me and the kids making up these fantasy worlds, and each of them like had a character and a story, and we would just build off of that. It wasn't the first books I published, but it was the first of the books that I continued publishing, because originally I was trying to publish like Christian children's books, and I did 3 of them. And I had a publisher that sold my book without paying royalties and screwed me out of a lot of money, and I was illustrating for other people, and she would call them and say, hey, you have to pay me instead of her because I'm her boss, even though she was not my boss. I was working independently, and then I didn't get paid. I did several books for other people and only got paid for some of them, unfortunately. So I cut ties with her, and then I started self-publishing on Amazon. This is another book that I did. Ronan's character is the hedgehog. He used to want to be a hedgehog so bad, and it was so cute. He used to tell me that he was going to grow up and have 5 babies, and they were all going to be named Sonic. I still tease him about that. I've done books for other people. This was for my friend's daughter. This one was for one of my nieces. The Enchanted Cup. She falls into a coffee cup and gets magical powers. Same with this one. That was for her sister. This one's another one about my Teal'c. I made this in 2015. This was before he was diagnosed. Like, we didn't know what exactly he had at the time. And look how happy he is. He was such a beautiful boy. That's him as a baby. He was so tiny. He was only 4 pounds when he was born. And he was premature. Excuse me. And we didn't know what was going on with him. Like, we knew something was wrong with him when I was pregnant because he wasn't growing properly. But his disorder was so rare that it took 7 years for him to be diagnosed. We had a DNA array done, and they found the change on his DNA on his X chromosome and diagnosed him with Kabuki syndrome type 2. It's so rare that there was, at the time that he died, when he was almost 16, there was only 32 other boys in the world that we knew about with his condition. They told me that he wasn't even going to be born alive, and then when he was born alive, they told me that he wasn't going to make it to his first year, and we made it to almost 16. I miss him so much. Look at how happy he was. He was such a happy baby. He was so strong. He was nonverbal. He could crawl, but he never walked. And he was so smart. He was so beautiful. I miss him every day. This is a book I did for Naomi. She's my 8-year-old. She wanted a book about magical hair because she's like, I've always had colored hair, and she's like, Mommy's hair is magic. Write me a book about magic hair. So this is her book about magical color changing hair. This one was for Corbin. We used to play a game where the kids would pretend to be pillows, and I would pretend to fall asleep, and then they'd wiggle. I'm like, oh no, wiggly pillow. And I wrote this when he was, I think, 3. And this is another one of Ronan's. Like, I have so many books, you guys. So many of them. Oh, and this is another thing I do. This is my comic book series. So ever since my kids were born, I would write down the funny, silly things that they did or said. And in 2020, when everything was shut down and nobody had anything to do, I started drawing them into comics. And you can actually find most of these for free on my Facebook page, Big Family Comics. But you can they're also in book form. I actually have 27 of these books, and they're pretty thick. They're pretty big ones. Also, here's some of my artwork. I like to draw my kids. A lot of this one is digital art that I've done on my tablet in the Procreate app. But I do a lot of other like hand-drawn art. Here's some pencil drawings done with colored pencil. I also do a lot of painting, as you can see with the paisleys and stuff. But I've done paintings of my kids. I don't know if it's in this book, though. I turn these into books that are purchasable on Amazon because I wanted to be able to print copies of my drawings for my kids. So that way they could all have copies of the drawings I've done for them. Like, the original drawings go into their scrapbooks. I have huge scrapbooks about my kids. In fact, my entire closet is full of scrapbooks that I've done. I update them about every 3 to 6 months. I print so many pictures. It's crazy. Let's see. I'm trying to find... There's another book. If I can find it, I want to show you. this isn't the ones I was looking for, but after my son died, I wrote a whole bunch of poetry about missing him, about grieving, about his life. And then I drew pictures of him and our life together and what it feels like to be without him. Some of them I intentionally left the pictures uncolored to kind of represent the sorrow and the emptiness. This one was one of the first ones I did after he died. He was such a beautiful boy. We miss him so much. Some of the artwork I did was intentionally look childish, to represent feelings, like abstract thoughts and feelings, and things that you can't quite put something solid to. So I did stuff like that to like kind of convey feeling. Oh, 1 second. I can't find the bigger one that I did, but I've done a few of these. Basically, when my son died, I started writing on Facebook, like all my feelings and thoughts about grief, about, everything about his life. And then I saved my posts because I like making scrapbooks, and I was like, I can't make scrapbooks for him anymore. So that became the scrapbook. And then other people started telling me how much it meant to them, how special it was to them to read through my grief journey and connect with my son after he'd been gone. And they said that it helped them heal from things that they had gone through and people that they had lost. So I put it into a book, and the first one was 600 pages long, and that's the longest that Amazon will let you print. And that's from his last day. So there ended up being 4 books. Anyway. Maybe I should just take the camera and show you guys my closet full of scrapbooks. This goes all the way back, and I have some in another closet too. Those are all scrapbooks that I do for my kids, because from the time that I found out I was pregnant with each of them, I started writing letters to them and drawing pictures and writing down everything. And with 10 kids, they fill up a lot. But my kids like to joke because, like, they're like, oh yeah, my mom knows me really well. She wrote the book. Literally, I did. Literally, I did. When I wrote a biography for Tilk, then I felt like, oh, well, I got to write a biography for my other kids. So I did. I wrote a biography for each of them. And, yeah, I did that last fall. From like October to December, that's what I worked on in my free time. I do tend to type really fast and write really fast, so I guess that's how I processed the trauma of losing my son. Was I just sat down and wrote and drew, and I made a whole bunch of books. But like I said, like the majority of my books are really lighthearted and fun. Like silly things that my kids have done. Like this one here, I want to be a giraffe. This comes from something that Robbie, my 19-year-old, used to say. He would make this face when he was little. He'd be like, do I look like a giraffe? And I was like, no, you don't look like a giraffe. He's like, I want to be a giraffe. So I made a story about it. This one's about my daughter, she used to be obsessed with pink. In fact, we used to call her Pinkalina. And then all of a sudden one day she's like, I don't like pink anymore. I just like black. And I was like, cool. So I bought her all new clothes, and she often swipes my clothes, and so I made a story about Pinkalina deciding she didn't like pink no more. And then this one was about Naomi had this stick that she found in the yard, and she named it, and she put a dog sweater on it and decided that it was her friend. And for like a week she carried this stick around and she called it Sticky Stick. Well, then Sticky Stick got broken, and so I made her a story about it. This one was for a friend's kid. She wanted a rainbow unicorn mermaid. So I made that for her. These are all like, I made a bunch of stories for Robbie when he was in basic, and then I mailed a lot of them to him. I didn't send him this one because now that he's going to be coming home, he doesn't want me to mail him any more stuff, which makes sense because it can be like a month before he gets it. But here's another one that I did for him when he was in basic. Through the Forge. Robbie almost died when he was going through the Forge. He got double lung pneumonia and didn't receive medical treatment when he should have. And then, like, right as he finished the Forge, when they're like, okay, you're done, you're officially a U.S. soldier, he fell over, coughed up a bunch of blood, and passed out and was, like, basically unconscious for 3 days. That was terrifying. And, of course, I didn't hear about it until after, because he was only allowed to call home once a week during that time. So now he calls me every day. One time I did a book series where the kids all picked a character, and then I made a bunch of stories that were like intermixed. This is one of them. They were all like superheroes and stuff, and this is one of their favorites. This was based on a game that my oldest two made up when they were little. They would say, I'm a potato, and they would say the couch was the soup pot, and I was supposed to be the chef, but the potatoes like to jump off the couch, and I was supposed to pretend to sleep while the potatoes went running. And so they would sneak off the couch, and I would like pretend to wake up and be like, oh no, potatoes, get back in the soup pot. And it was like this whole thing. So I turned it into a storybook. My sister actually used this in her classroom. She was a teacher for a while, and she built a whole lesson plan around it. It's still in some of the schools in Wisconsin, actually. And then this one, Little Warrior, Naomi really likes this one. This one was more about me and the battles that I've had to face. Kind of more of like a metaphorical battles, though. This one's based on a game that my siblings and I made up when we were kids. We used to pretend like the floor was like green ooze instead of like the floor is lava. The floor was green ooze, and so that's kind of what that's based off of. What else should we talk about? Oh, what is that? A money gun. Oh, thank you. I don't know what that is. This is only like the third time I've done lives. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Sabi. How do you say that? Sabi Lala. That's a pretty name. Thank you so much. Maybe I'll keep showing my books here. Or there's a bunch more of them. I did this one for one of my nieces. Hi, Damien. Nice to see you. Am I saying that right? Nice to see you. This is one of the biographies I did for my kids. This one's Corbin's. As you can see, they're kind of thick. I did a lot of like pictures in it and stuff. It's basically like a scrapbook. This one was Corbin's when he was little. He wanted to be a shark, but he wanted to be a shark that lived on land and ate pizza. I was mentioning how Taylor loved pink, and so this was the first book I made for her, and we called her Pinkalina, and we like made this whole imaginary pink world. And whenever we write stories, we write stories together, we will you know, incorporate the pink world and everything's pink. And you'll see a lot of like the boy with boxes. That's Teal'c. His favorite thing in the world was boxes. He would sit there with the box with the flap on it, and he would go like this to make a sound with it, and he'd do that for hours. He was very sensory seeking. I miss that. I miss that a lot. This necklace is his ashes. I never take it off unless I go swimming because I don't want it to get ruined from like chlorine or something. And I did take it off when I went to the trampoline park because I was worried about it like flopping up and hitting my teeth or something. I also write stories about big feelings, having big feelings. Like this one's called Do You Love Me? And it was based on something that Ellie had said to me. She had just been really naughty that day, and she was having tantrums and stuff, and I was like, you know, I do gentle parenting. That means I have rules, but I don't spank my kids or use physical punishment. And so she was just melting down, and all of a sudden she turns and looks at me and she goes, "Do you still love me when I'm crabby?" I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, baby." So I wrote her this book. Do you love me when I'm mad? Do you like me when I'm angry? Of course I do, baby. I love you no matter what. When you're angry, when you're mad, I love you all the time. You can bet on that. And the story goes through that where she's talking about different feelings, and I'm reassuring her that I love her all the time. And that was like, it was basically like the conversation that we had. This one was for Corbin, a tiny dinosaur. He wanted a tiny dinosaur, so I made him a story about a tiny dinosaur. The Tinosaurus. He crawls into his window. This one was for one of my nephews. This one was for Ronan in the same series as his other hedgehog ones. One time I asked Corbin, I was like, I should write a book for you. What book should we make? And he's like, I don't know. So we made the I Don't Know book. I just don't know. I don't know what you should write. I don't know. It's such a plight. I don't know where it should go. I don't know how the words should flow. It's a whole poem about not knowing what to write. This one here is about feelings. If you go onto Amazon and you search my books, any of these ones with these sort of unfinished looking drawings are about feelings. This one's called Allowed to Exist. And it's essentially about me. There once was a girl who wasn't allowed to exist, and this is like the story of me learning it's okay to be myself and not worry about what people think. And as the story goes on, the girl in the story, she's shoved into a box by other people, but there's a fire in her heart, and she finally realizes it's okay to be herself. And when she does, when she finally steps out into herself, her world becomes colorful. And that's actually how I had my hair last year. And then she shreds the box to pieces. So I wrote this for really anybody that struggles with being themselves or has struggled with being themselves, or kids that, like, some of my books are geared mostly towards children, but some of them, especially like these ones, are also geared towards teenagers and adults. Even though it's in the style of a children's book, it's very much, it's deeper. Like, I get into like anxiety and PTSD and depression and, you know, things like that. I even did one for my niece who's going through a divorce, and what was the book called? I don't remember what it was called right off the bat, but it was about a leaky house. The house had a leak in it, and she's like, we need to fix this, we need to fix this. And he's like, nah, I'm ignoring it. And he ignores it so long that the house fills up with water, and she's finally like, I'm done. And she walks away, and he's left to deal with it. So I wrote that for her. She loved it. She's in her early 20s. She has 2 kids, and her kids think of me as like a grandma figure. They call me Auntie Mama. It's so adorable. This is another one of my comic books about my kids. And this was one, after Teal'c passed away, I wrote stories for each of the kids. I asked them to give me a word or phrase of what their brother meant to them, and They did. They gave me like my courage, my hope, my reason, my strength. And I wrote them each a book. And this one was about the last song that Ellie sang to Teal'c a couple of days before he died. She sat down and she held his hands just like that. He had been having a seizure on the floor, and she got down on the floor and held his hands, and she sang to him. And she's like, I love you, you're my favorite. And Teal'c came out of the seizure, and he was like, oh. Teal'c was very small for his age, even though he was 16. He was almost 16. He was a month before his birthday. Almost 2 months before his birthday when he passed away. But he was only about the size of a 6-year-old. He was very small. Actually, I can show you how small Teal'c was. One of my drawers has his jammies in it. And this was one of the last things that he wore before he passed away. Sorry, that's... Whew. Try not to cry. I'm gonna go put this back. A couple more books. Oh, this one was hilarious. This one, some of my storybooks, I don't know why it's so dirty on the cover. Some of my storybooks are like sarcastic digs at like funny things that people have said or whatever. One time, this one, I'm not gonna say who, but this guy was like, yeah, I'm financially stable because I have a bunny. And we thought it was hilarious. So I turned it into a story about having a bunny because it makes you financially stable, according to that guy. And then this one was one that I did for an adult friend of mine. Unfortunately, I don't really talk to that person anymore, but there was this idea that, you know, the Bible story, Jonah and the whale. Well, what if the whale was like severely disturbed that he swallowed a person and the whale had to go to therapy? So this story is entirely from the whale's perspective, and he's in therapy and he's like, oh my gosh, I swallowed a human, it was disgusting, oh, what do I do? You know, I know, that's so silly, right? Like, I do a lot of like really silly books. This one is about parenting. It's about gardening, but it's about parenting. So in this story, she plants a garden, watches her seeds grow, takes care of them all the same. But as they grow, one goes off on a different path. Doesn't look up at the sun. It's struggling. It's not, you know, doing what sunflowers are supposed to do. So she is heartbroken and she tries to help the flower and she props it up and the flower's losing its petals because it's struggling so much. And eventually she realizes that the sunflower needed to find its own path. And as it did, it began to blossom and grow. She realizes, so this story is essentially about, you can't make your kids be who you think they should. You have to support them in who they are. And that's what she learns at the end of the story. The sunflower, even though it took a while to get there, begins to thrive. And at the end of the book it says, and that's okay, they'll get there, hang on. I do a lot of stories about parenting. I don't really promote my books as far as like I've never had somebody like go and promote it for me. So the only way to find them is to search my name on Amazon or search the book's name and my name. My name is Sonia Lillis. You can find that pretty much anywhere. You can find links for it if you go to my Facebook page, Big Family Comics. But see, even though I'm a mom and like a lot of things I do is centered around the kids, not everything in my life is centered around the kids. I know this video kind of became about the kids, but I just like to be myself, and that's something that I learned when I really lost myself into motherhood, was that I lost me. And so about 4 years ago I started doing my hair, doing my makeup, doing things I love to do again. And so, like the makeup videos that I do, like the little short ones with the makeup transitions and stuff, that's for me. I do that for me. And yeah, a lot of that is it's more grown up, as it should be. I'm 42, I'll be 42 years old in October. Like, I talk about my kids all the time because I'm so proud of them. Absolutely adore them. But I also try to keep, part of my life separate, part of my personality separate. So that's why you'll see things that are like, 1 minute I'm talking about my kids and the next minute I'm like dancing to risky music or whatever. My adult sons kind of cheer me on. They'll actually be like, they'll show my TikToks to their friends and they're like, hey, look at my mom, isn't she cool? It's the sweetest. My nieces did that too. In fact, they were the ones that encouraged me to start TikTok in the first place a year and a half ago, I think it was. Oh gosh. I think I've been on the video for almost an hour now. So I should probably end this because I got other things to do. It's 11 o'clock now. And I gotta, if the weather clears up, I'm gonna take the kids for a picnic, but otherwise I've got other things I gotta do. So thank you all for joining me. I really love the support. You guys are so kind. I will see you real soon.